We're back with part 2 of our exclusive interview with Nives Gadani. I'm so excited to get into this because we got so much to talk about. But if you missed part 1, head over there. Is Diddy an FBI informant? Let's get into it. Welcome to Popcorn Planet and the interview, and we're here with part 2. Nives, welcome back. I'm still reeling from what you said at the beginning of this idea. Is he actually an informant for the feds? Some people have implied this, but it's a pretty interesting theory. I mean, what do you take that, if you said you believe it, now with the current raids that are happening, how are you justifying all that in your head? What do you think's going on with Homeland Security and these raids on his home?
Right, right. And this is just my opinion. Again, this is not a fact or anything. I'm speculating here. If the feds do a raid on someone so prominent, so influential, and as well rich, right, who has lawyers, money for lawyers, they wouldn't do that unplanned and just because they're trying to find something. I think there was definitely probable cause, as they say. A lot of people are speculating and just say, okay, if they go all at the same time in all three houses, right? New York, Miami, and LA, they have to have something on him. There has to be something, but you never know until he is officially charged, right?
Right. And to be clear, we are speculating here, but obviously, if he has been working with the feds as an informant and now they're showing up to his house with these massive raids, that either means they're turning on him or they're just doing this for show. I mean, what do you think is happening?
I
Again,
mean,
speculative, completely opinion.
right. So this is just what I heard, that no one knew whose house they were raiding. Actually came out of Jaguar Wright. She actually talked about that. No one, the feds didn't know whose house they were raiding, so no one could be informed, or he could not be informed that this is really happening, right? At the same time, this lawsuit that he did against De Leon, or this big liquor company, they're very influential people, and maybe they just wanted to show him, listen, if you come against us, we're gonna go and ruin you. And as well, maybe just to retrieve the tapes that he has in his house, allegedly, right? I mean, those are the tapes that have a lot of people on it that he could blackmail and get some more favors. That's
So
just
it's
my
interesting because he keeps crying it's a witch hunt, but I guess there is potentially a theory where the feds are in or, and have been aware and know, and maybe are trying to gather all the intel to know, well, what do you actually know and have on us? It could be what's actually happening here. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I don't think it's a witch hunt. In the end of the day, there's so many years that people have tried to talk about him and already said the truth, and it's always the same story. So how is it that so many different people from different artists, girlfriends, and so on, affiliates say the same thing about him? So something has to be true about it, right? And I can just say that when I was around him, again, he has never mistreated me in any type of way at all. Again, we did not have much contact or anything like that. But I have seen his outbursts and then certain things that I have heard from very close friends of mine that were even closer to him, right? Things that he would do. So it all makes sense.
I'm
And
glad you said that because I want to get into these outbursts and these personal experiences. But when I even say that, I just mean it could be a witch hunt in his mind if he's
right,
friendly with the feds who are helping to cover up some of the operation, is what I'm just trying to get at. And
right,
he's now crying witch hunt like he's a victim when in reality there might
right.
be corruption in the FBI for all we know, or whatever is going on. There could be something shady going on, or maybe they were just using him to get to something else. There's so much more to unpack here, but let's get into the sort of stuff because you've been to the parties, right? I guess my first question is like, what are these parties like? Are there two kinds of parties? It feels like he puts some parties on for show to look classy and bring the celebrities to, but then the parties evolve into more debaucherous things. Do you have any experience at either of those? And is that assumption correct?
Right. I mean, I have more been to like album release party, The Last Train to Paris, that famous party with Kevin Hart, Trey Songz, and so on. I was at that party. That was really just a really nice party that he did. If people did drugs or not, I didn't see it, but I'm sure that it happened. But that was not like a party as a freak off, as he calls it, right?
Yep.
I was never part of that. Um, Although I have provided girls to his affiliate to go to certain parties, but it was girls, right? And in the end of the day, those girls don't tell me who they are seeing or what really happened. It's just very discreet. Um, so yeah, they were paid and they went on their way.
So
No
you
male.
have no firsthand experience, or at least you're not sharing any firsthand experience of any of these sort of freak offs or extreme things that we're hearing in all these allegations.
No, no, no. I mean, again, I just wasn't part of it, but I could
Oh, okay,
see.
but you've heard.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, again, I have girls provided to go to these parties, but I'm not going to ask them details because that's just something that's discretion, and that's on
But
them,
was
right?
there ever any like, this went too far? Because obviously consenting adults can be consenting adults, but from some of these allegations, there's stuff where it's like, whoa, there's not consent and there's,
Yeah, no,
people
no,
of
no.
not of the right age. Did you ever hear any rumblings of that?
No, because in the end of the day, everyone that has dealt with me in business or any type of way, uh, anywhere where my girls went, it was definitely consent and they were definitely of age. Whatever happens outside of that, I would never be part of it. But I could see that happen. Absolutely.
It doesn't surprise you, but you have no experience with it. Understood. Okay. And then so regarding the freak offs, you're not under, they are believable to you, but you don't have any proof of how bad they've gotten. Now, all right, got you. Your experience with Diddy, though, you have met him. He seems like a nice guy, but then he also seems to have these outbursts. Have you experienced either of those scenarios?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he would be happy in his party mode in the way that everyone knows him, like being the king of parties. And then he would turn around and just have an outburst and go crazy at everyone around him, right? More like staff, I would say. If he gets mad at the staff, then they're gonna feel it.
What
That's
like is it a lack of control? Is it just a power trip? Like what is the when you witness that in the moment? Where do you think it comes from?
So let's say he something had to be done and it wasn't done, then he would just go over the top, angry, crazy, throwing things around, and people have to deal with that.
You talk about earlier the first part we alluded to it, but the taping of everything. So that had been something you had heard that was obviously around the circles that people sort of knew and expected. Have you seen the NDA? Did you have to sign any of those NDAs that he
No.
provided?
No, because I was always with the head of security and some people that are around him as well. Of course, I met Harf and a bunch of other like executives from Bad Boy. But there was never really like that. And again, I think I was not really the person they were probably going after because I was literally at that time between 20 and 24. That was like the time when I was around them. So I was not really a person that they would be afraid of, right? I mean, I was a so-called immigrant.
Right.
Uh,
They easy to threaten you based on the activities you're
right,
doing for them and obviously. So that's
right, right.
probably a little bit more, they felt safer around you.
Right. And at the same time, you have to see they counted on the fact that I will be snitching, but I have not. And that's usually how it is because obviously the feds come with a whole case against me, and they were right about it in the end of the day. I'm not saying I'm innocent. I was clearly guilty. Um, so if I would snitch, then I couldn't say nothing about them, right? But I just decided not to snitch because that's not really the way how, if you mess up, you have to stand tall in that sense, you just have to deal with the consequences. But I think with a lot of people they probably dealt with that have snitched because they are big, there's just a long time that you probably have to sit in prison.
Yeah.
And then those people can't talk about it because obviously they have been rats themselves.
Where your mugshots on your social, you wear it now sort of proudly. I mean, that experience, what was that like for you?
Well, the thing is this, it's not that I'm proud of what I have done. This picture is before I got released, and the experience that I went through. In the beginning, which I think most people do, they felt like, oh, yes, I got betrayed, but it was my fault because I have done what I have done, right? So I deserve to go to prison. And in that experience in prison, I grew up really quick and learned, okay, if I have another chance to be free, because it's not nice to be in prison, not nice to be in Rikers Island or in the New York prison in general, I will do everything the right way and never do something illegal again, which I stand by. I have built up another business. I have I just became a mom, which was very great. So in that time in prison, I just had to learn. So this is why that picture is not me being proud, but me being able to change, right? When I look back, this is 10 years ago I got released, right? Um, so in prison itself, especially as a foreigner, right? Yeah, they say the new black orange is the new black. That is like it's not as similar at all. Okay, it's way worse. It's harsher. If you're a foreigner, they want to try medications out on you. They definitely always want to put you in lock. There's a lot of violence going on, and you have to move very smart and not be loud, you know. And the good thing is, I'm not someone that's looking for conflict. I'm not really like a big fighter and stuff. I just had built up my friends and my alliances there in prison, and that way we were able to survive together, you know, for these 2 years.
You also, I know you heard stories of Cassie, right, at the time, about what her experiences. Do you believe Cassie? He settled that lawsuit so quick. What are your thoughts on the sort of Diddy Cassie situation?
Well, I have met her before. She's a very beautiful, nice person. Obviously, I was not someone that was a lot around her, but when I was in the studio at Daddy's house and stuff, she was there. I actually have hooked her up with another artist once to get on a song, and then somehow it just didn't come through. But I did not know all the things that happened. Now it makes sense that she was so quiet and looking down on the floor and stuff, right? But I definitely believe it, and I think there was a lot of abuse going on. Just from the stories that I heard from friends that actually were there, right? Because I wasn't there personally, but from people that I know really well, close sources that have told stories how he would treat her in front of other people. That just shows probably in private it was even worse, you know?
Do you believe other celebrities have been complicit in all this, and do you think that they should be worried with this Fed investigation happening?
Yeah, I'm sure because, you know, I mean, he's a big person in the industry. He's a mogul, as they call him, right? So people want to be part of it. They don't want to be lame, and maybe just look the other way, which humans trying. It's just a human thing to do, right? If you know someone, if you like someone, if you look up to them, and they see they do wrong, a lot of people want to look the other way, and just to be part of whatever they could do for you, you know? So. I definitely think a lot of people should. I mean, people who are implicated, they should be afraid of it. Yeah, if they were part of it, for sure.
I know and thank you for watching. You've told us you've watched the show, so I imagine you've followed the allegations, everything we've been covering. But Little Rod, there's been obviously some conflicting thoughts on him and the way his lawyers filed it. Do you believe the Little Rod allegations and what's in there?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's that old trick of like, oh, you're looking up to that Stevie J, right? As a producer, let me show you what he does. Like all this mind tricking of thinking of people, you have to be this way to make it in Hollywood, and you have to do all these things that you really don't want to do because your talent is not enough. You have to do all these things. The way he said it, it makes completely sense that he tried to really mess with his head, you know? He messed
Yeah.
with his head and he said, look, if you do this, you're gonna get this, and all these things. And it's just known in the industry, right? I mean, again, I was in the music industry for a little bit and I have met some great people, but a lot of it is really just who you know and what you can do for them, right? I don't really believe, um, yeah, a lot of people who made it big, they probably had to do something for it. Not saying they're not talented at all. I'm just saying mostly people in Hollywood, they had to pay their dues.
Well, another person who got sort of snitched almost in a way, or almost was this Brandon Paul person who apparently is his alleged dealer and was his mule, who was arrested in the Miami airport for a period of time. What are your? I'm sure he's watching this stuff, paying attention. He's probably terrified of snitching on anybody. But what is your advice to him as someone who's sort of now in a way more complicated situation than even you were dealing with Diddy?
Right, because he's all over the blogs. On top of that, it's not even like on the low. So people are watching what he does. I mean, the thing is if he in the end of the day, it's not like Puff is going to be his best friend and he has to take one for the team. Everyone is looking out for themselves. So I'm not telling him to snitch because in the end of the day, if he did something wrong, then he has to do his time for that, right? So you did something, you were selling drugs, then that's what happened. But I don't know if he necessarily has to snitch on Diddy. I don't know. Maybe that's just a part of it. I don't know how far he is, but he got caught with drugs. So you have to go to prison for drugs, you know?
Yeah. Do the time. If you do the crime, you got to do the time.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And
And then
then you can be rehabilitate and get it better. It's obviously what's key here. But do you think there's a version of this where someone like him snitches on Diddy, or do you think that whole group and circle is so tight and terrified that they won't do anything to go against him?
Well, the thing is this, now the feds have a lot of pressure on them to really make this case work or stick, right? So I don't know this man, but it seems he's a younger person, you know, who was impressed, of course, being around Puff and all that. So it's probably not too hard to put a little bit fear into him as a fed, right? And say, look, if you don't cooperate with you, you're going to do 20, 40 years. Same thing they did with me. They first they said it's 25 to life that I'm going to get. and they're trying to scare you, right? But at the end of the day, he just should talk to a lawyer and get advice from a lawyer, and then take one step at a time, and don't get just take everything what the feds say or trying to threaten him with. I don't say literally, maybe. I don't know. Because sometimes it's better to just sit down real quick before you say anything, talk to a lawyer, and not
Facts.
do anything else, right? But sometimes, I mean, like I said, I mean, they tried the same with me. I didn't talk to them, you know. I just said I want a lawyer,
But
and
was
then
that was really a loyalty in you, or was there honestly fear more outweighing the other?
uh, no. I mean, again, I have dealt with different type of people, not a puff. Some, let's say a little bit different people, right? But which I would never snitch on ever. So of course it was a fear, but at the same time, in that moment, I didn't even think if it's 20, 25 years. I'm thinking like, how can I get out of this? Because it just can't be happening to me. I was so naive, right? I'm like, there has to be a mistake. Why are they coming after me? I'm the little person, right? But in the end of the day, when I understood a little bit more how this works, the system, and how is a favor for a favor, and people know each other, I had to play that for the best of my part, right? I mean, what do they want from me, and what do I don't want to give them, you know? It's a difficult question, but I'm just saying, if you get involved in something like this, you have to count on the fact that you will go down one day and you have to do time, or worse, you might not survive. Who knows, right?
Yeah, I mean, talk about not surviving. I hope we're trying to get in touch with Gene. Maybe you can help us connect. I know he's got a lot, but speaking of not surviving, there have been so many allegations regarding connections to Diddy's involvement with the death of Biggie and Tupac and others, the shooting with Shine. Do you think those rumors are fair? Do you think there's potential that Diddy was more involved in, those situations than he claims to be?
Well, I mean, there's again, Gene is a whole lot more knowledgeable in that, and he's a good friend of mine. So he is around there. He knows all these things, and in the end of the day, it's been rumored for a very long time, right? I mean, we talk about this is like almost 20 years ago, um, more than 20 years ago. Yeah. So it's almost 30 years ago soon, and Keefe D, I think, got arrested for something, and then he said some sort of story, but he was on the pressure as well from the feds. I think somehow different people were involved, but that's just, again, I wasn't there. I would say Gene is the better person to like talk about it, because he has just more knowledge of it. I don't want to say something that is not really true, but I think he is involved, because in the end of the day, how much money did he make when Biggie died? I think it was 600 million with
Hmm.
all the music that came out after that. And he always plays, contribute, because he wanted to leave, I think, the night in LA. He's supposed to be in England. Then he didn't go there. There was beef in LA. Why would you go out there like that? It was all a little bit fishy and weird, you know? So I hope everything will be solved, but maybe we will never know,
Well,
what really.
I can't imagine some of these people involved aren't watching these interviews. They got to be nervous about everything coming out. Any final thoughts or things you want to say to Diddy or that crew while you're here?
No, I just think karma goes around, comes around, and obviously I did my time, and I deserved that. I had to do that time, which is fine. It gave me a lot of life experience. But for everyone, even very influential people, they're not God. They one day they have to answer to God, and maybe that's just the time for them to go that way. That now is their time that they are going down.
Well said. I appreciate you being here, guys. If you want to help her and what she's doing, stay attention. You can head over to her Instagram at International Madame right there. You see it on screen. Go give her a follow. Neves is also working on a documentary or a series at some point. If you are a production person, she's putting the feelers out there for help. Reach out, get in touch. So grateful to have you here. Please come back. Let us know if you got anything else to think about. And wonderful to meet you. Guys, make sure also subscribe if you haven't already. Follow her over there. Hit the bells for all alerts. Smash that like button and let us know what you think. What was the most surprising thing you heard here? Want to hear your thoughts. And if you too have dealt with the Diddy or his crew, hit us up. We'd love to talk to you on or off the record. Please stay in touch. Thank you guys all for watching.